In Malaysian Borneo, the future of the state of Sarawak is at risk. Under the development plan named SCORE, the Sarawak Corridor of Renewable Energy, the government intends to build a series of massive dams in the hopes that they will spark rapid industrialization. But these dams come at great cost. If built, the dams would flood an area 3 times the size of Singapore, force the relocation of tens of thousands of people, drive rare species to extinction, and emit vast quantities of greenhouse gases which will accelerate climate change. Borneo has 2 interconnected but distinct energy needs. One pressing need is to end energy poverty for its rural population. The other need is for utility-scale energy for cities and for reasonable economic growth. There is a path to development that is not destructive, one that both ends energy poverty in Sarawak and creates and distributes wealth more equitably. It is based on renewable and sustainable energy. At the University of California, Berkeley, in the Renewable and Appropriate Energy Laboratory, Professor Daniel Carman and Dr. Rebecca Shirley have spent years researching the most efficient and appropriate energy systems for East Malaysia.
One of the big ironies of large-scale energy projects is that unless they're specifically for very large cities or industry, they're generally a very poor match to the energy needed by peri-urban urban areas and by rural communities, simply because a large project stepping down to a very small community, often far from the current transmission lines, is exceedingly expensive. So it's just simply more efficient development-wise to build up the resources you need and to do them cleanly than to hope and pray that your large project will reach communities, because they almost never do. So the idea of moving to a distributed system isn't just about clean energy. It's actually often about more reliable and in many cases lower cost.
If you're building a portfolio of projects in your country, how many of them run over their budget, but also how big is the overrun? And we end up with unviable dams very often, i.e. dams that will never pay back. About half the dams we looked at are a net drag on the economy. The countries were better off had they not built the dam.
SCORE, or the Sarawak Corridor of Renewable Energy, has identified more than 150 potential dam sites all across Sarawak. The current energy demand in Sarawak is a little over 1.2 gigawatts. SCORE would like to build out 20 gigawatts or 20,000 megawatts of potential between now and 2030.
The oversupply of energy from SCORE is not rational economics. It will, however, further enrich the companies building the dams and their sponsors in the government.
Are we building dams to meet power demands, or are we building dams to meet the greed demands of certain politicians and their companies?
The SCORE development plan assumes an energy demand growth rate of over 16% per year through 2030. No country has ever needed this rate of energy growth. Even during the height of its industrial boom, China's energy demand growth rate barely exceeded 10% for 3 years. Spending billions of public funds in the hopes that Sarawak's growth rate will be 160% of China's peak rate is wishful thinking. It is both irrational and irresponsible.
The Sarawak Corridor for Renewable Energy. Calling the mega dam project SCORE is very clever, but it doesn't really reflect what the projects are about.
The name Sarawak Corridor of Renewable Energy is misleading. Its projects are not truly renewable. Projects including coal mining, oil-based industries, aluminium smelting, clearing of rainforests for oil palm plantations, and massive hydropower dams. Large dam-based hydropower is no longer considered a renewable energy technology.
I would love to see SCORE transformed into a project that is really a resource to support true clean energy and not a replacement of it.
Carmen and Shirley's research found that it is possible to combine solar, biomass, and run-of-river hydropower to generate significant energy for the grid.
Tying together smaller amounts of solar, microhydro, small amounts of biomass that we might gasify or perhaps combust. Tying those systems together is now quite easy.
Recent innovations in energy technologies have dramatically increased the efficiency and capacity of renewable energy systems. An 8-megawatt solar farm was recently built in Malacca, Malaysia, with enough energy to power 1,800 homes every day.
And the great thing about solar is it works on so many different levels. So you have these big, 200 megawatt solar farms that connect into the grid just like a big dam or a gas plant might. And then you have, much smaller systems. You can have systems that are on the roof of a large factory, medium scale systems, and then you have systems on people's rooftops. Prices have come down massively over the last few years, something like 80% reduction in the price of modules over the last 4 years. And then the prices of batteries is coming down now as well, and the technologies are improving, so it's easier to store power with better batteries.
Small-scale renewable energy projects are the rational choice for village-scale electricity. Tony Bung has implemented community-based energy projects for over a decade.
The word decentralized is the key, because the most efficient way of power generation and distribution is energy has to be utilized in situ where it's been generated, because you minimize the losses of transmission and so on.
In Borneo, Green Empowerment and Tony Bung focus on the development of community-based microhydro systems.
Microhydro systems are a very good model where it's not just addressing electrification, but it also empowers the community in terms of managing their resources, getting organized, and also generate income.
These small-scale alternative energy systems are community-based, strengthen local economies, and provide adequate energy for rural populations.
Tony Bung also develops gravity feed water systems and solar photovoltaic systems, all sort of mainly through this process of deep community engagement, where really the community is the driving force behind the implementation of the project.
I think mega dams is, in short, it's not for the people, it's for the industry, and so what is needed is a much more holistic renewable energy systems policy in the country, and we need policymakers, lawmakers, parliamentarians to take this on and bring it to the parliament and come up with very strong policy on that.
Unlike SCORE, a development plan based on energy that is truly renewable does not bet the future of the country on short-term profit. An energy future built on renewable energy instead of massive dams can bring economic prosperity to Sarawak while protecting the homes and livelihoods of thousands of people.
When you diversify your energy portfolio, you also diversify the jobs market. By gradually shifting to a green economy, you actually have higher returns on investment, higher GDP growth, more sustained GDP growth, reduced rural poverty, increased job creation.
Learn from the indigenous people, go back to basics, love our nature, respect the nature, then I think we have a better future.
What is the goal here? What are we trying to do? And I think that the proponents of SCORE are seeing the massive industrialization of the state of Sarawak as being the future that they want to see. Obviously, we see Sarawak as a place of rich natural and cultural resources. And I think that there are ways where you can develop a state or develop a country and still retain the natural and cultural characteristics that make it a treasure right now.
Development without destruction will leave intact a forest vital to the people of Sarawak and to all of humanity.